Hello, everybody. I very much appreciate you joining episode 3. What we're going to be doing today is talking to a whole bunch of Survivor players, but before we talk to some of them, we're going to be really showing solidarity. The solidarity does not mean that we don't care about people in Gaza. It does not mean that we don't care about all of the tragedies on both sides. What it does mean, though, is that there has not been enough representation out there from influencers, from celebrities, and from some Survivor players in the community to specifically care about the Jewish community and Israel, which we all know did not actually start this war. So what we are doing today is we're going to go around and say some and hold up some solidarity statements, things that honestly should not be partisan in nature. These are things that I believe truly both of our presidents, Trump and Biden, would each say and believe. This is not about picking sides. This is just about showing care for our ally in the Middle East, Israel, the democratic country, which needs more allies now more than ever. And as it happens, Survivor is all about alliances and allies. So right now, hopefully, we can have more of them join us. And we're going to start today. And I, Boaz, am now going to shut up. And I'm going to turn it over to these wonderful players, both Jews and Jewish allies, starting with winner Bob Crowley.
On October 7th, over 1,200 people were murdered in Israel by Hamas terrorists.
Like any other country, Israel has both the right and the responsibility to defend its population from attacks and continued threats of attacks.
No freedom of press, religion, or sexuality under Hamas.
Even with the Iron Dome, Israel, men, women, and children spend countless days and nights in bomb shelters as air raid sirens sound the alarm.
Israel faces unprecedented challenges combating terrorists in densely populated urban areas where Hamas uses civilians as human shields.
While Israel is often stereotyped as white, more than half of its citizens originate from the Middle East and Africa and would be considered black or brown, including its large Israeli Arab population.
The U.S. State Department designated Hamas as a foreign terrorist organization in October of 1997.
Zionism embodies the Jewish people's right to self-determination, establishing a homeland where they can freely practice their culture and religion.
The terms Zionist and Zionism have been weaponized by haters of Israel. But anyone who believes Jews have a right to self-determination and safety in their indigenous homeland is a Zionist. Both presidential candidates are Zionists. I am a Zionist. We all are Zionists.
In 2006, Hamas was elected in Gaza and proceeded to eliminate any opposition by violent force. It has remained the governing power in Gaza for almost 2 decades.
In 2005, Israel withdrew all of its forces and people from Gaza, leaving it to hold elections and run autonomously.
Just like America, Israel is a beautiful and flawed country. Some democratically elected leaders are good, and some are lousy. To judge the entire country by its leaders of the moment is the same as judging America by its president of the moment.
Over 100 hostages still remain in Gaza, including Americans. Bring them home.
Accusing Israel of genocide is gaslighting, as Israel actively works to prevent civilian casualties during its war in Gaza, clearly a near impossible task in urban warfare, while Hamas explicitly calls for the genocide of Israelis.
International aid intended for humanitarian purposes frequently ends up stolen by Hamas.
The term Zionist is defined as a person who believes in the development of protection of a Jewish nation in what is now Israel. America and the UK were the first Zionist countries when in 1948, President Harry Truman issued a statement of recognition following Israel's proclamation of independence.
Whether intended or not, From the River to the Sea reflects the genocidal part of Hamas's charter to cleanse the land of all Jews and Israelis.
The Gay Pride Parade in Israel is one of the largest in the world, with Out magazine nicknaming Tel Aviv the gay capital of the Middle East.
Israel's Iron Dome system is exclusively defensive and prevents about 90% of missiles from hitting their target.
There is a huge double standard. While other nations' defensive and counter-offensive actions are supported, Israel's right to self-defense is questioned, and some protesters even glorify the attacks on Israeli civilians.
Not only are Israelis, but also people easily identified as Jewish are being harassed and attacked around the world, including on university campuses across this country.
Many members of the press, as well as UN Palestinian Relief Organization, UNRWA, have been proven to be assisting Hamas in everything from October 7th attacks to even guarding the hostages.
Attacks from Hezbollah come from Lebanon in the north, and attacks from Hamas come from Gaza in the south, often at the same time.
Anti-Semitism has been a persistent force for centuries, and since October 7th attack, we have seen a dramatic surge in hate crimes against Jews worldwide.
The timing of many anti-Israel protests, which started before Israel even launched its military response, suggests that these demonstrations are driven by deeper anti-Israel sentiments rather than specific events in Gaza.
Since October 7th, 14,000 rockets have been fired at Israel from Gaza, Lebanon, and Syria.
Chanting from the river to the sea echoes Hamas' intentions to wipe Israel off the map, not seek a two-state solution.
On October 7th, about 240 hostages were kidnapped by Hamas and taken to Gaza.
The Oxford Merriam-Webster Dictionary defined apartheid as an institutionalized discriminatory system of restricted contact between races and racial segregation. Israeli citizens have the same rights and access to schools, jobs, and services, and this includes people of different colors, races, and religions, including Islam.
While it's true that anti-Zionism is not automatically anti-Semitism, most forms of anti-Zionism have ultimately been anti-Semitic in nature, including questioning a Jew's dual loyalty and attacking someone about Israel because they are identifiably as Jewish.
The Gaza Ministry of Health and Casualty death numbers do not distinguish between Hamas militants and civilians. They also do not distinguish between people killed by the IDF and killed by the thousands of Hamas rocket misfires.
On October 7th, Hamas terrorists brutally raped and tortured women and men and captured much of this proudly on video.
Chants for intifada, such as Intifada Revolution and Globalize the Intifada, are calls for violence, as the intifadas against Israel resulted in over 1,400 Israeli citizens murdered and over 8,000 injured.
Having a secure border between Israel and Gaza is no more of an apartheid than the border between America and Mexico. In fact, prior to October 7th, many Gazans were given work permits to enter the land legally and safely.
While civilian deaths in Gaza are absolutely tragic, the numbers reported of men, women, and children come directly from the Gaza Ministry of Health, which is run by Hamas, who have a track record of lying about facts.
The Palestinian Authority is the governing body of the Palestinian population of Israel's West Bank, and its pay-to-slay policy incentivizes violence against Israelis by rewarding terrorist families financially.
Whereas Israel attempts to minimize civilian casualties and collateral damage, Hamas intentionally attacks Israeli civilians and intentionally forces Palestinian civilians to be turned into collateral damage.
In the entire region, Israel has the greatest degree of freedom of religion, freedom of sexuality, freedom of speech, and freedom of press.
Since Israel's independence in 1948, it has accepted a two-state solution to create a Palestinian state several times, but all offers have been rejected or sabotaged by violence.
Bring them home now.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Chosen Links. If you like what you heard, feel free to share this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on our socials at Boaz Hepner on X and Facebook and at hepner.boaz on Instagram.